Thank you very much. Getting some pretty good numbers in now, which is feeling the love. And timing wise, we are on 34. We can give it 30 seconds and then I'm going to start and get this done. Just in case you've just come on, this is a Champions League Cup and we've won it 6 times. I'm just throwing it out there, Greg, yeah?
Oh, you hadn't mentioned, but thanks.
No problem, mate. No problem. Okay. Stragglers have had time. We are ready to go. So, as you're aware, you're all on mute. If there are any questions, please put them into the chat. They will be fielded for later on. I can see there's been a few little bits typed in there. All hello, everyone, etc., etc. Dawn will look after them for me. We've got our whole team on here, so we can help and answer any questions that we need. And we are now ready to rock and roll. So, first things first, I am Craig. We're going to do a quick poll just to make sure that you can hear me. So let me check that. Dawn. Okay, can you hear me? You should now be able to vote. In the process of doing this should give us a little tiny bit of feedback and we can then see, excellent, it looks like people can hear us, which is absolutely lovely. The next thing I want to ask is this. I want to ask, has anyone seen a demo of version 1 before? Just so I can get a feel for whether people have never heard anything about OpsPal or whether people have heard a little tiny bit about OpsPal. So in terms of the spread that we're getting, it's round about 50-50. In fact, it's exactly 50-50 as we speak. So there'll be anyone who's seen it before, you'll see some of the old functionality, but just I'm fine now that I know I've got a full split in there, which is absolutely brilliant. So version 1 versus version 2. So version 1 came out. We launched this at the beginning of last year. We've got around about 15 to 20 customers on this at the moment. Our current customers, we're getting really good feedback for it. James Cooley at Manchester Met absolutely loves it. We know we're doing some work with East Renfrewshire at the minute. They're absolutely starting to get it all filled up. Torvine Leisure, fully up and running and using this on a daily basis with all their teams, right the way through from cleaning, cafe, and duty managers, everyone in the whole organisation using it. So we got some really good feedback. And we had been asked for a few tweaks and a few things just to try and help speed up installation. So rather than just making those tweaks, what we did is we made a whole new sexy version that I'm going to go through for you today. We've already launched this to existing customers. So we did this last Monday just to give them a feel. Again, customers always come first, as you know. So the idea behind it, we wanted them to see everything before everyone else was allowed. And I'm going to go through and start showing you exactly what features we've got in there. You'll see that there's the version I'm going to show you is a dark view, but we also have a dark and a light. I'll explain why I like the dark view particularly when I go through it in a second. The 3 main reasons for the version 2. First bit is about speeding up the installation process. So how can we get this to be as quick as possible? At the moment, we only need 2 days to get this trained in. So we need 1 day to teach you how to input, and we need 1 day to teach you how to manage the system. So we only need 2 days. But how quick you can get up and running once you've got this product in depends on how ready you are, and it depends on if you've got your checks already and you've got all your tasks and your procedures, all that in a format that you're happy with. So you'll see that we've massively sped up that process. The next thing is trying to make it easy to use no matter what job role you're in. So whether you're the main owner of the organization, whether you run a couple of sites, whether you run just one site, or whether you're just an employee, we can take you through the 3 different levels: the organizational view, the site view, and the staff view, all at the click of a button. And last but not least, the checks and jobs are now on a totally different level in terms of how flexible they are. It means that we can any single check sheet that you can create, we can probably replicate, I'd say 98% of those. We haven't had one yet that we haven't been able to replicate. So I'll show you all the functionality as we get into it, and you can tell me what you think. Now, I was working with a customer on Friday, and they came to me and they said, we've got a pool testing sheet. They currently just use paper like a lot of people. And they said, would we be able to get this onto the system? And what we did is we took the information from the pool test, we added it into a check. We put some extra detail in the top to give them the criteria or the levels they need to go to. We also took some parts off that were only, so there was some stuff that gets done multiple times a day on the sheet, and there was some stuff that only gets done once a week. So we split them up into 2 different tasks. That took us less than 5 minutes. And once we go into the demo, I'll be able to show you exactly how we did it and what that now looks like, and how you'll see the pool tests, etc. being in here. So time to have a look. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this over. I am now going to jump onto the product, and I'm going to jump into the operational view. So when you first come into the product, this is the main screen that you're going to see. So this is our organization's called OpsPal, and we have 2 sites. If you had 50 sites, if you had 3 sites, if you had 350 sites, this is exactly where you would go on the product, and this is where you would see everything, and this is where it gives you the full overview. So as you can see, that's the overall view. The next view we want to look at is the individual site. Now, when I click into the individual site, so I can see here the cleaners have got a task. I can also see that the duty managers have got 3 tasks. And I can also see that there have been 8 tasks completed today. And the last one was completed by me 51 minutes ago in the process of sort of clearing this out for the demo. So we have this little view here where we can see what departments have what tasks. And it will also show you as and when they're overdue, which I'll show you a little bit later on when we come back. But then it also breaks down the individual tasks here. So let's start off with risk assessment. Oh, the other view that we have as well is to go to the individuals view. So if I click on this little bell in the top right-hand corner, what this then allows me to do is this allows me to see exactly, you can see I'm allocated into 2 different sites because I'm an area manager. And it tells me that I need to look at a review in here. It tells me I've got to view and understand the risk assessments in Woodford Park. And I've got 1 task, and that's overdue in that particular site. So it just gives me that full overview. Now, when we come back in, I'm going to go into risk assessments. So this is risk assessments. This is where you build them all in. There's no need to have an Excel version somewhere on the system where people can or can't see. We don't particularly need that anymore. So the whole idea behind it is that this is where we build everything. This is where all your master copies are kept. So let's just say, for instance, you were an organization like Right Directions. You would build all your stuff into this, and then you'd be able to copy out these risk assessments to multiple clients or whoever would need them. We're working with a company called Educational Compliance, who are possibly looking to put us into a couple of 100 schools. Now, the process for them is, let's say, for instance, the new COVID risk assessment needed to be written. What they would basically do is come in, they would write the risk assessments in here. And then let's just say, for example, I'm going to use this call center one. They would then come into copy. They would select the site they want to drop that into. So let's go to Woodford Park, and then they would click start copy. And that has now been done. And they could drop it into 50 sites at the same time. And instantly those sites would now be ready and available to jump on and to start using the actual product. And to start to answer these questions. So what you can see in here is a little overview. Anything that goes amber, that means it's due in the next 30 days for review. But the person who owns it, this being me in this demo system, I've already had an email to tell me that this was due. So therefore, I can keep that up to date. I've put one out of date so we can see what happens here. So this basically shows you that on the 22nd December 2021, this was due for a recap and an update. So very, very simply, in here, we can filter in lots of different ways. If I was to put in, let's say, for instance, fitness, as soon as I start to write fitness, you can see that it will sort of scroll down. So when you've got multiple or hundreds of risk assessments, which some organizations have, we can quickly filter through them, and we can quickly get to the ones we need straight away. We can also do that by owner. We can do it by read or read request. We can do it by when we can filter in any way, shape, or form that you like. Now, what I'm going to do for the sake of this is I'm going to go into 3G pictures. So in here, we can see when it was last reviewed. We can see when it's due for the next review. And we can obviously come through. Now, I've already read this risk assessment, which is absolutely fine. But the main reason why we built the risk assessments was basically for this view here, to find out exactly if the departments that are meant to have read them have read them. So you can see here for 3G pictures, if I click on this, it tells me that Craig Campbell's read them, and that I've also requested for these people to read them as well. So the idea behind it is that you can see at the minute, Jamie Palmer and Tom Salter, it's not in there. We haven't asked their job roles to do it. But let's just say, for instance, I wanted one of those because they're going to be covering the weekend. I could quickly click this, And obviously you can see now that's now 1 of 5, and it brings the details in. Also, what we have in here, imagine you've seen Craig Campbell and he's not doing this properly. You can click this button and make sure that Craig needs to do this again. You might not have noticed this, but in the top right-hand corner, my little bell went from having 4 notifications into having 5. So when I come in here, it's now telling me I've got to read the 3G pictures like we would do. So why was this built? Again, obviously, so we can see who's read them, and also for quick edits. Really, really important. So if I go into the 3G pictures again, this time I'm going to go to edit. Very, very quickly, we can see in here that the assessment date, we can see the review dates. This is a clever button. So if you do every 3 months, it will start to learn, and that button will change to every 3 months if you need it to be. Now, what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to come into this particular bit, and I'm going to say Boris and Co, because it might be Welsh, it might be Scottish. Boris and Co have made some big changes. Okay, so when they make those changes, that's absolutely fine. Now, in the process of reviewing this risk assessment, let's just say, for instance, when I was doing this bit here on lone working, I've realized that we need to order more walkie-talkies. So I'm going to put walkie-talkies need ordering. Okay, I can't spell talkies, but it's okay because I've got a spell check. And I want Craig Campbell to do that. I'm now going to go down to the bottom, and I've got some questions to answer. Have I made changes that require users to reconfirm understanding? Well, yes, because Boris and Co have made some big changes. And have I reviewed the risk assessment? So now it'll be a year's time it needs doing again. Click on yes. It will take me to the top, and it will update these particular dates for us in there. So you can see that it does all that for me. And now what it's asking me to please confirm and understand this. So I'm going to do that. Now, what I would normally do when I've read one before is I'd go and have a look at the log to see what the recent changes were. But you can see here that the recent changes are, this is a full log of everything that's happened on the 3 pitches for anything that's been added, edited, reviewed, or understood for all users. So anything at all that's happened will be in here. I'm now okay with that, because I can see it's only a small change, and I'm going to click OK. Now, if I go back into the log, it will also have logged that since the change, Craig's now read it in a different way. So hopefully you can see in here that it pulls everything together. And then what we also have is the actions. So we can see here that we needed to order walkie-talkies, and in the display screen equipment, they needed to order some PPE. I can see that that'll be here on the 5th of Feb. So I can come into here, click on the update, and it takes me straight back into here. So PPE ordered on the 5th of Feb. I'm now going to give that an update. Order will be in for the 7th of Feb. Okay. And then I'm going to go down and save at the bottom. And there we go. All done. So if I go into the actions again, you'll see we've got everything in there, and that one will be now updated, etc. So the order will be on the 5th of Feb. So in terms of risk assessments, that's pretty much it. It's basically a copy and paste in order to get them in. Absolutely fine. Procedures is where we start to get to the consistency of training. Now, the way that we use this particular section is, some organizations will have this thing where they'll say induction, tick. Well, I'm not a fan of that. I want each aspect of the induction broken down, because a normal induction, let's say it's got be anywhere between 500 and 1,000 things that you need to train your member of staff for them to be fully competent in doing their job. I don't think one tick covers everything. I think I need to know that each of the individual tasks that they're meant to do. So do they know how to use a phone? Do they know how to make outgoing calls? Do they know how to clean a toilet? Do they know how to do the rotors? Do they need to know how to do a pool test? Rather than tick, it's all done. So we break down every aspect where we can. Now, again, if this is visual, then absolutely fine. If you want a visual, if you want pictures, that's fine. If you wanted videos, so it might be an example of, let me have a look, pat testing in your organization. Your maintenance team might have put a quick log on of how you do pat testing. It can be absolutely anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new procedure as a test just to show you how quick we can do this. So we come in and do test. We then do, it's going to normally be today's date. We can click on today. Review will be in a year's time. In here is where we add our description. Now, it might also be that this is where we want to add our video. So very, very quickly, I'm just going to get a video link for us. So I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to copy the link, and then I'm going to jump back in, and I'm going to add a video into this particular training document. So I click on there and you can see it's now added in, nice and simple. Now, how do we want to report on this? Well, this particular one is for leadership training, and who owns it? So who needs to get the update? This will be Craig as of next year. You can now see that this is fully up and running and ready to go to be used. All we need to do now is add the departments in that need this particular task. Now, this was the senior management team, absolutely fine. So that's me and Dornan, who are built into this demo. And it's as simple as that. That's all we need to do in order to get this up and running. You can see it down here. You can see I haven't read it, but you can also see that this has now gone to 7 in the top right-hand corner. So there's a new procedure that needs understanding. I would click on this. I would watch the video. The video would then go. I won't go through all 47 minutes. We'll leave that for now. And once I've understood that, I click it all, and you can see it then takes me back. I also need to go one in Wootton Park, but I'm not going to do that just yet. So with procedures, again, we've got this. This is due for next month. This one's overdue. Starts to give us the insight. We've also got the list of users, so we can see exactly how well trained your organization is down to the T. So we can see where we're competent in lifeguarding or first aid, anything like that. We can build it all in. In terms of the log, again, we want to view changes. So edit the trampoline setup by me clicking on this. You'll see the original version and the second version. So basically, you can see I'd resized the videos. It was just me messing about as part of the demo. Or it might be here where Greg's popped in and he's changed stuff on the will and skill matrix. So as you scroll through, it'll start to show you side by side, so we can see the differences and we can see what changes have happened within the product. So again, you can also take that to court and you can prove that, yes, you changed the procedures. You can then prove that people were trained afterwards, etc., etc. So you can see here, this is us adding it. This is us adding the new procedure, and then it's saying here that Craig Campbell understands this new procedure now. So we're all covered and backed. Actions will literally be the updates when they need doing. So we can see this one, setting up a trampoline needs doing. I may go in, very, very simply say, yeah, the video is still valid. We still do all that same stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Review date now from 12 months from now. I'm going to put today as the review date because we've just reviewed it. And I'm now going to save that over. There was no changes, so I don't need to make people read it again. But if it did, I've got the option again, just in that bottom edit. So if I click on these, one of them will change to 12 months, the review, and the other one will make people read it again. But obviously, because it stayed the same, I don't need to do that for this particular one. But what I do need to do is I need to copy this across to another site because they don't do it. I click into copy, pick the site that I want to add it into, start the copy, and it's done. It's ready to go over at that site. So you can see this is massive. This is a huge improvement in trying to speed up how we can. All we basically do now is when you first come on board, is we build one site. We make that the master site. We then copy that over. And if they haven't got a pool, we'll take it out. Or if they haven't got a sports hall, we'll take it out. But they're ready to go simply by adding staff. Now, one of the main benefits of this, again, is, as you can imagine, as I allocate a member of staff to the system, all I've got to do is allocate them their department. So before I go into tasks, I'm just going to show you that. So as I come into manage up here, we have, this is the orders. This is where our users come in. This is where we add our department. So I can add a new group here. So if I wanted to add cleaners or project management group or maintenance team, whatever, we can build it in. And all I need to do, if someone joins and Polly becomes a member of our senior management team, I update that group. Now Polly will have every risk assessment that department needs. She will have every procedure they need, and she'll also have every check and every job automatically populated into her bell now. So it just makes it so much easier in order to do. And we also have a log of what space is being used in the background. So now I'm going to go on to tasks. This is where it starts to step up a gear from the previous version. So what you can see in here is, at the minute, I'm having an overview of all tasks for the organization. But I can obviously look at just mine if I want to. But I'm a manager, so I want to see exactly what's going on. Now I can see that the stand-up meeting should have happened, but I can also see it hasn't started yet. This is due, this hasn't started yet, and the pool test is due, but it hasn't started yet. So I'm now going to jump into the pool test. Now in here, you can see we've got these instructions at the top. So this is telling us what the criteria, and then this is the pool test. Very, very simple. Now I can see that a pool test was done earlier and the chlorine level was high. They backwash and added new water, and they're waiting for the retest at 12 o'clock. So I've just come in, I've done this test. This is 2.4, the total is 2.5. So that means the combined is 0.1, which means it's now within a safe level. 7.4 for the pH, absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go into here, and this has now been solved because the parameters are all in the correct area. So I'm going to solve it. All, excuse me, parameters are correct. Okay, and I'm now going to update that. So now when the next person comes in, there'll be no problems and they won't get confused. So the idea behind it, I'm now going to save that off. And you can see that pool test now it'll be due back again at 2 o'clock because that's when it's next due on the system. So it's not, I can't do it early because that would affect the timescales in between. So the whole idea behind it, you can see that this is how we start to sort of do stuff. Now, there's another thing in here. If I do start, so imagine I start this task, but as a manager, I'm just going to come out. What this does is all the greens will then turn to amber. What this basically tells you is where people are around the building and what they're working on. So I'd be able to see if someone was cleaning the showers, if they were doing the sales updates, if they were doing maintaining the aircon, whatever they're working on. As a manager, I get a visual of when they started that. What you'll see, you probably just saw that change from 3 seconds to 23 seconds. So this auto updates every 20 seconds as well. Now, we can also see the checks and the tasks in here. So what we've basically got is a check. If I take that off, I'm now just looking at jobs. If I click that one, I'm now just looking at checks. So we've got a full breakdown of how we do. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you to how we build a task. Nice and simple. So first and foremost, is it a check or is it a job? I think this bit is absolutely key for us. So the idea behind it, I'm going to do a job and I'm going to call it test job. Okay. In here is where we put the description of the training. So imagine if this was how to take a telephone call, then the idea behind it in here would have a full explanation of exactly what of what you would need for that particular call. Again, in here we can add photographs, we can add images, we can add, this looks like a nice telephone image. I'll just pop this one in. So the idea behind it, you can see it's very, very simple to build. If I want to build, you know, I need a table built into it. I can either drop it in by copy and paste, or I can build it in here itself. It's absolutely fine, but very, very quick. Imagine, so this is the description at the top. Now, this is default ticked. So this basically means that this is like, you will have trained them in the procedure of how to do the check anyway, but this is an extra check. So they cannot sign off any check unless they agree that they understand it first. So that then puts the owner on the actual person and not onto the organization. How do we want to report on this? So for this one, I'm going to put business. I'm going to allocate it to duty managers. If I wanted to allocate this to an individual person, I could. And then down here is what we want the actual checklist to look like. So imagine I wanted 3 things checking. I'm just going to do this for speed. I highlight those 3 things. It's now got a checkbox against it. Now, in some organizations, I'll give you an example. So Manchester Met, for instance, they've got a checklist. Their toilet checklist has 10 things on it, but they only want the cleaner to tick the things that they do. So they want the cleaner to come in and go, right, I want those 2 have been completed. So for them, I would not click enforce all checks. Now, for another check they do, which is check all the gym equipment in the morning, they want them all checked. So I'm going to put that in there. The hours till overdue is how long it would stay green for. So if this is due at 7 o'clock, when do you want it to go overdue? 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock? For the sake of this, I'm going to give it an hour. Business critical. If you click business critical, what this then does is this allows you to allocate a member of the management team who will be informed if this task is not completed on time. So if this was due for 9 o'clock and after 10 o'clock, then this person would be informed that this particular task hasn't been done. Really good for lone workers and things like that, or specific tasks which are business critical. Enforcing minimum time, dead simple. How long does it take to do the task so they can't finish it off early? And when's it first due? So we're going to say this is first due at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to put that as 1 o'clock, and then I'm going to click next. So the next thing it's going to ask me, is this a reoccurring task? Yes or no. If I say no, it's a one-off task and it's completed. If I say yes, we simply come down to here and we pick we might want intervals. So I might want it twice a week or twice a month or twice a year. or it may be that I want to go down the route of multiple times a day. So in here, what I'd do then is I'd say, let's select all. Excellent. And I want it all to happen at 12 o'clock in every site. So you can see that's now been added in. Really, really simple. And then we save it off. So now what we've also got, so let's imagine that someone is doing a particular check. So if I go and do this stand-up meeting and I start this off, what you'll see in here is I can come in here. Who's the AA manager? Well, that's Steve. Who's the ops manager? That's Peter, etc., etc. If I could spell Peter. So in here, you can see it's all free type. It can be anything you like. It could also be a tick box if you want a tick box and free writing. Totally, totally up to yourself. So the whole idea behind it in here, we've got, but imagine as I'm doing this check, I've seen a smashed light. Well, I come down here and I can see that it's already been logged. So I don't need to log that again, which is fine. But I also seen that the bin was overflowing. So I've come in. Now, in the past, someone must have found a smashed bottle, because what this does is it logs your quick tasks and the top 10 that you use. So if I'd seen a smashed bottle again, I'd click on that and it would already be added. Okay, but let's just say, for instance, the bins are overflowing. So bins are overflowing where? I'm going to put by the door. And who do I want to fix this? For this sake, I'm going to say the cleaners, and then I'm going to complete task. In fact, I didn't add that in then, excuse me. But this, can you see the smash bottles already here? So all I've done is jumped out. I've completed the stand-up meeting here, and instantly the smash bottle is there for the cleaners to start doing. So they would see this job, come in, clean that up, write in completed, and we are away. And we are now done. So the whole idea behind this, you can probably see that it's so easy now. Again, it brings all the problems into one place. So you can see here that the plant room, the strainer basket was broken. No immediate reaction, but the strain, it needs to be custom built. It's not going to be due for 2 months. So in here, we have a full log of exactly what's needed or exactly what was said. So this one is about a soap dispenser being broken. So I can see here that I found the problem. I'd said it needed order and fitting. It was then due on the 31st. I then got an update saying it's not going to be done till later. And you can see we have this full, now it's not going to be done till the 12th of February because they had a problem trying to get hold of the parts. So in here, we have a full log and we can keep everything done. Now, imagine that I'm working on this today. And the whole idea is now it's just been solved, fitted, and all okay. So I would click on that. It would then take me back to my task so I can carry on working on tasks. So hopefully you can see it brings all the problems together in one place. There's a few more little clever things in here as well. So again, in the log, we have this full log. So you can see here that I've just solved that particular task. You can see here that I added Steve and Peter into this. You can see here before that I added this picture in. There's a few others that I will have ticked off earlier on. So you can see these, I ticked these off because this one was designed that it had to be ticked before I could go through it. So it just makes it so much easier for the whole log to know exactly what's going on throughout the whole organization. In settings, we've got a few little clever buttons. So this is where we design our groups, but any one-off tasks that you add. So if you can see here, we've had empty bin quite a lot and it's in the same place. So what I do then is I might decide that rather than this being a one-off task, I click on this button and it now allows me to create this as a full proper task. So I come in here, description it. Okay. So we do the full description in there and we put all our details in. We then put the task list in. So let's just say for this one, I need to create a table just to say bin 1. I'm just going to put, just for speed, I'm going to put 2, 3, and 4. In here, I want these to be a checklist so we can tick it off and they can write any actions in this end bit. So I click on there, hours till overdue. Let's give them an hour. It's not a business critical. It should only take them about 2 minutes if they've done the bin bag training, and that will start as of today at 9:10. Okay, so when we click on this now in a second, when we go back to all tasks, you'll hopefully see that that's now in there. Again, I would come into this particular task. I'd have to tick these off in order to sign this particular task off. Bin needs cleaning. For some reason, we forget to do them. And you can see here the minimum timer here. So if someone comes in and just tries to blag it like I've done, where they can just think they're going to tick it off and get away with it, it's not going to allow them to do that. So if they're walking around and doing this properly, emptying bin 1, getting it all ready, emptying bin 2, getting it ready, etc., it's going to take them more than the 2 minutes to do this particular task. So that's all been built in as a safety measure so people can't blag or hash tasks on you. So that makes it a little tiny bit cleverer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump from tasks and I'm going to jump into problem manager. Now, problem manager is what it was in the old one. So this is basically pulling in every single app into the same place. So if I click on 2 further actions, it will take me into where they are. This is basically where the senior management team need to make, if they come in here, this review is overdue. I'd come in, have a look at the review that's overdue. I'd have a look at it, make sure it's okay. Okay, I'm fine with that. Review date now has just been moved because I've just reviewed it today. Then we save that off. When we go back into the problem manager, we'll now see that that particular one's green. So our job is to make sure that this is green and it's being dealt with and we're assured of it. If I find out who the 14 are, it basically takes me into here. So I can then see it's any of the blue ones with the people we've got to chase. And we've basically got to chase the people who've been requested who haven't signed it off yet. Now, they will get an email every 3 days to tell them how many reminders they have in this little box up here. So, and if we allocate any tasks or any things over to people, again, they'll automatically get them built into the system for them. So problem manager just pulls the whole thing together. Now, I mentioned something before about dark mode. Now, me personally, I'm dyslexic. So I work much better with a dark background with light writing. Apparently, I can read 19% faster and I make 21% less mistakes when I have that sort of background. So you may find that it may help some of your staff. If they don't like that, very, very simply, they can go to settings, they can click on light, click on save, and now it will be converted across to them so it looks how they want to see it. So when they come into tasks, you can still see the red, you can still see the green, you can still see the amber, we can still see the problems that are recorded, you still get the full view. Personally, like I said, for me, it makes it much easier for me when I come into this particular part and I see it in this view. Okay, so I realize I have just battered you with an absolute load of information. What I'm going to do now is just open it out for questions. If you can just sort of, Dawn, if you want to open up and see if there's been any questions in there, that'll be lovely.
You've absolutely blown everybody away by the sound of it, by the looks of it. It's all quiet on the Q&A front. But I'm sure people maybe be wanting to type some in, and we'll just wait on them coming
If anyone
in.
wants to put the hand up and ask any questions, please feel free to do so, and we will invite you in to speak so we can see exactly what it is you're saying, and we can get these in there. Hopefully you can see that in terms of setup, this copying function is an absolute dream. All we have to do to set up any task or any procedure is literally just any procedures that you have now. We can copy and paste them. It will automatically add pictures in. It will automatically add the tables in, and it starts to get a little bit cleverer. So, Craig, when will existing users be transferred to the new version? That will be happening on the 21st and the 22nd of February. So, yes, that will be absolutely fine. That goes over on that time. So I won't type that in, but if you could for us, Dawn, that'd be lovely. So do all staff have to have a mobile device to update their tasks then? So you can use a tablet, which some organizations have done. You can use your mobile phone, which a lot of organizations have done. So anything that has internet access is all you need to be able to sign these particular tasks off. So in terms of how the product looks in mobile, I'm sure that you're aware of this, but as you drop it down, that will be the view that people will get. They will come in, they will click on their site. It will then give them an overview and break it down by the departments. Once we go into risk assessments, it will then take us in and we can see which one we need. And then we can go in and we can read and go through them. So it's actually designed more for mobile than it is the computer. If we want to look at what it's going to look like on a tablet, we just move it to that area. And then we get the full view of what tasks, etc., would look on a tablet. So all it does is just moves it into 3 square boxes and moves it around a little bit. But in general, it's designed for mobile. That was the key behind the whole thing, which is perfect. Now, how are we getting on? Are there any more questions, Dawn?
Yes, there is. So Tamara's asked, can you add competency tests, etc. questions to confirm understanding?
Yeah, we can. So that's something that'll probably be in round about, I'd say, Greg will back me up on this, but probably around about March to April, we'll be able to build that in there. Now, what we'll have is when you build any procedure or any task or check that you want to be questioned, you would also write the questions that you would need. And then when you do review, you would review the questions at the same time. So that means every year you'd be having different questions rather than the same ones. If you want to put banks of questions in there, then that's something that we're looking to do maybe as well. So definitely something that we're looking to move towards in that way.
Okay. Next one, what type of hardware are sites using for this system?
Okay, so in terms of, let me just go back into that a second. So yeah, in terms of tablets and things, Amazon Fires are absolutely fine. You can go down the really dear iPad route if you want to, but you really don't need to. It's literally any device that will handle an internet connection. You'll be able to view this on, and it'll be absolutely fine. Like the videos, everything will scroll and will fit onto a mobile screen. So other than that, you know, you may need the odd Wi-Fi extender, which a lot of people found out. You know, I know that we had there was a lot of problems at first when Course Pro or Learn 2 came out, just because some people never had Wi-Fi access on pools. But with some Wi-Fi extenders, it simply means that we can get it into plant rooms and we can get it into areas that maybe you would have struggled with in the past. And luckily enough, their prices have come down quite significantly too as well, which is good.
Craig, that might just, what you just mentioned there, also answer David's question about what happens if the site has poor or no connectivity.
I'll throw this out to Greg. Obviously, it's not something that we've come across yet because of Wi-Fi extenders. So, you know, I've just been doing some stuff in Torvine. Obviously, some of the sites are quite remote, and all we've done with Wi-Fi extenders, it solved the problems. Now, in terms of if I go and I lose my connection, I can finish off my check sheet. Okay, so as I'm going through, I can finish off the check sheet, and as I go back and connect to Wi-Fi, I'll then be able to connect the task off and sign it off as I walk back into the area. But other than that, yeah, that's the key for this, is that it stays live. You know, we've got a full dashboard of exactly what's going on now. So, you know, we had looked into looking at, you know, where you can do uploads later, but it just causes a whole host of problems. And it means it's like having your dashboard in your car, but it not being live now. I'm just checking, Greg, that's correct, yeah?
Correct, yeah, spot on. Spot on. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay.
Okay, good. David also asked, is there a reporting tool? And there's a couple more questions just coming in after that as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously in terms of the reporting tool, yes, that will be built in. Now, what it'll be based around is, obviously we've got the log here. So in the log, we can look for any time range. So if I wanted to do for this month, that's that. If I wanted to do this for anything that was added, anything that was missed, so I can find out exactly what anyone's done, exactly what everyone's missed, exactly what they've added, exactly when they've added problems and if they fixed them, and exactly any instructions that they have. And I can do that via any task group or any team group or for any individual task. So every single thing that happens in the system is logged. So in terms of, you know, if I wanted to find out, do a report on all the tasks that had to do with cleaning, all I'd literally do is come in here, click on that for that time range, click on update, and then it would update them for me. And now we have that log in there. If you need to print this out, you can right click, go to print page, and save to PDF. Now, what we've also got in this as well is it basically we can do the translator. So if you've got certain staff, if I want to convert this into, let's just go for Bulgarian for now and then translate, you'll then simply see that this now fully translates into, I think it's 70 plus languages that we have at the moment. Just makes it really, really simple if you've got staff who English isn't their mother tongue. So we've got, that's obviously built into most of your browsers. So we have the ability, if you're using Edge, Chrome, etc., not a problem. If you're using Windows Explorer, I've got a question why you're using it, but that might not have the same functionality in terms of the translating side of things. But in terms of reporting, Dave, yes, every single thing that goes in it will be reported. We will have base reports like who finds problems and who fixes problems and who's completed tasks during a certain time range. So you can imagine if I wanted to, this month, and I wanted to find out how my duty managers have got on, I would literally come in here, click on that. I'm going to take this off cleaning, just select all for now. And I would then update it. Now, this is a meeting for me and my duty managers to talk through every single thing that's been signed off this month. And also the things that we missed as well. So by going through it, yeah, we've got absolutely everything that we need built into it.
Great stuff, Craig. More questions coming in. Colin Forsyth, he said, I've not seen signatures. How do you track individuals having completed tasks or checks? And does everyone have a login?
Every single person has a login. There's no, so we don't charge you per person. You get charged per organisation. So if I come into Active for Life and I go into risk assessments, okay, so I'm going to click on this voice protection one that I haven't read yet. I would go through the risk assessment, make sure I fully understood it. I literally click on that and it now records that I have read everything in the background. So in terms of signatures, timestamps and all the things they'd normally have to write on paper, it speeds that up because they now don't need to do any of that. It knows who you are because you've logged on. It knows what time it is and it knows what task you were signing off for. So again, when I go into the log, this is basically Craig Campbell now understands this. When every member of staff signs up at the beginning, there's a little thing saying that when I click understand, it's because I actually understand the task. So they're agreeing that that is their signature when they click that button. So hopefully that answers that one for you.
Right, next up. So Sarah's mentioned that she's got some concerns around staff competency around digital skills. Sometimes using tablets in a basic way can be difficult for some. What support is there, and what have others found with version 1?
Okay, I think what you'll see is that once you actually get this, most staff, basically once they've logged in and they click in their bell, they see this. So what they then need to do, if I want to go and see what my tasks are, I click on tasks and it will take me to the tasks. I've got one overdue and I literally click start, right? So the whole idea, then it's about typing. Now I understand if they don't have the ability to type, I get that, but in general, this has been built with users in mind. So we've sort of built it backwards. We built the user outcome first and then went back to see what we could fit into it. The whole idea about this is that it's made for operators. It's not made from an IT perspective. So in terms of simplicity, it's very, very, very easy to use now. If they get stuck at any stage, so let's say, for instance, they forget how to add a risk assessment, they would simply click on support, come into here, type in, if I just type in add risk, add a new risk assessments there, they'd watch the video. All videos are held down to less than 5 minutes. And now they'd have a full overview of exactly how to do the task that they'd just forgotten or that they couldn't remember. So in here, there's just a simple guide. Now, this is the old version. The new version will be fully updated as and when we get to the launch on the 23rd. But for every single thing that they need, we've got a video for it in the background. So if they do get stuck, go to support and they can either raise a ticket or they can go straight. If they raise a ticket, we'll send back the video that will help them if they couldn't find it. If that's not suitable for them, we'll jump on and help them. We can do full screen shares. We can do everything that we need to be able to do in order to get in for them.
Great stuff. And another question coming in from David. David's on fire today. If a client has a fantastic procedure, i.e. like your trampoline setup, can that be shared with other clients, or are there copyright issues? But I think, we do see pockets of genius going on, Craig, but, if you can respond to David.
Okay, so yeah, Dave, the idea behind it is that one of the things that organizations sign up for at the beginning is we are willing to share best practice with whoever wants to share best practice with us. So if there's an agreement at the beginning where you say, look, yes, I'd like some of your best practice, then we can drop things in that would help you. That means that we could then share yours if that's the case, if you're willing to do that agreement. Now, the whole idea behind it is that, I'll show you an example of that particular thing that you just said. So if I go into procedures, Active for Life, go into procedures, and there's one of these called setting up a trampoline. So the video is already built in there. There we go. Perfect. Now I can copy this with me as an outside user. So I can copy this into any site that I'm active with. So ideally this stays within, you can only share inside your organization. So you wouldn't have the access to other things. Now, if there's things that we personally have created, so I'll give you an example. One of the things I suggest to everyone is bin bag training. So I could easily drop a task in for your organization that teaches you how to do bin bag training, which basically says at the start of every day, we have 8 bin bags in. So when it's full, you just take it and the bin's ready. Shift changeover means that you're empty no matter what's in all of the bins, and every single bin will be empty then ready for shift changeover. So the likes of that thing that we built, we can easily drop that in for you. Now, if we get any best practice off customers, we tend to make it more generic anyway and take off anything that makes it to them. It's more the procedure that we're interested in, not the fact that it came from them. So if they're willing to share best practice with us, yes, of course, we could drop that in. So basically, yes, we can, we've got a load of best practice that we can definitely drop in for you, Dave. No problem at all.
Okay, question that just came in from Terry Parker. So tasks are allocated to a role. For example, a leisure assistant will be done by those roles on the shift. But if tasks are allocated to named individuals, how does the system deal with those persons on leave or absent for periods, or where they need to reallocate tasks to someone else at short notice?
Okay, so let's jump into tasks very, very quickly. So at the minute, this particular task is, so the easy way around this is, as a manager, you will have this, you'll have my tasks and you'll have all tasks. So the all task means I can come in here and find out who that person is. So I could basically come into this. Let me just take these off very quickly. So I can come into this simply and I can say, right, which ones have been allocated out to just Craig Campbell. So now I can see the task that Craig was going to do. I can go in by viewing these. I can then go and edit, and I can simply add them to someone else for that particular day. So I can ask another user who, I know Jamie's in today, so can you do them for me, please, Jamie, and save. So now that will then fall onto Jamie's as well. So the whole idea that it's designed to help you pick up problems if people are ill or don't show up or don't come in.
Okay, David came in with, is there any facility management tool in it within like the sort of servicing of equipment?
And you can build any check you like into it. So if you've got a certain check sheet that you're using now, we would just put that sheet into it and we could do it electronically rather than on paper. So any check or job or anything like that that you want to build in, give me the sheet and I'll create it for you.
Great. Okay. Is there a customer function, complaints, NPS? So I think, David's again asking about other sort of modules.
So I'm going to come on to, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll jump onto this little tiny bit now. I'll just finish off these little bits in here. So the idea behind is support and training, all videos, all built in. We also have this little thing that we want the customers to own this community. So basically, one customer adds stuff in, we either implement it or we put it under review, but you can come in and vote. Whoever votes decides on which things we do next. The roadmap, the next we're looking at a proper pool testing app, stock control, asset manager, accident reporting. So I sent out a query to all our customers the other day, asking them what order they would put them in. Things like MPS and stuff like that, I'll be honest, we won't use MPS. And if anyone wants my own, I won't explain now why we won't use MPS, but I'm more than happy if anyone wants to send me an email for me to explain. So the idea behind it is that, other modules, yes, definitely. We're definitely going to be building other things into this. We see this as everything that you don't capture in your leisure management system. So, if you're using, it doesn't matter, obviously, we're partners with people like Gladstone, so we're now a certified partner with the likes of Gladstone. So, what a great partnership from our perspective, in the fact that we can now, if you wanted to retender and you wanted to use one of the best systems on the market, then not only could you get the best system on the market, but you could have us added on, which means you'd have the ultimate best system on the market. But yes, we will definitely build new apps in. Feedback is one that we've got on the radar. Like I say, NPS is a question. What we have for ourselves personally is there's a smiley face or not at the end of any support stuff that we work with yourselves. But NPS in its own entirety, no. Can risk assessments and checks already completed be imported into the system? So at the minute, we are looking about writing scripts for this, but it's pretty much a copy and paste exercise at the minute to get one site up and running. I did this with an organization the other day. One of the schools I'm working with, We sat down for 2 hours and we had 34 risk assessments, and we got all 34 in within the 2-hour period. So yes, now we've got other organisations looking at us. So Premier Foods, who look after Thai food, Cadbury's, Bovril, all these massive organisations are looking at us. Now, obviously for them, they have something like 1,800 risk assessments just in one plant alone. So we know that in the future, there's a high likelihood that we will have an upload procedure. The biggest problem that we're finding is, I didn't realise, if you look at the HSE, there's only one way of monitoring, of doing risk assessments. But when you actually go out into the real world, there's about 4,000 different ways of doing them. So they're not all compatible. But we are working with an organisation called the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre in Wales. And basically what they're doing is they're looking to create some scripts for us so they can pull stuff across, because they work with big players like Airbus and people like that. So they basically create the software and help devise. So they're working with us in the background on this to make sure that we can do that. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Okay. Any more questions? I think we've done all them in, haven't we? I think we've done.
We're all done.
Excellent. So last but not least is basically this bit. So what will happen next is every one of you will be sent a follow-up email. It'll have links to a brochure and also links if you wanted to book another meeting in with us, so we can talk through this specifically with your team, and you can send me some of your documents for me to add to show you how quick it is. The timeline: installs of version 2 are from the 23rd of Feb. Existing customers 21st, 22nd. Any new installs after the 23rd of Feb. If you need any more information, like I've said, please just click on the link in the email. You can book an hour or so with me, and you can get all your team involved, no problem. Again, one of the things we like to advise is that because we're all operators in the business, that, you know, if you're adding stuff to the system that we think could be better, then we will advise you of that. And like I say, we have got a lot of tasks that we'd be happy to drop in for you that we've created ourselves. So again, hopefully take that into account. If you wanted to buy it, again, get us the PO. We can get your system ready within one. And all it is 1 day of training, and it'll take us 1 week to get you up and running. So after the 23rd of Feb, if you obviously sent us a PO, it's about a week for us to create the space on the system and to get the training booked in, and then we're ready to go. We are doing the early bird offer. The early bird offer definitely finishes on the 28th of Feb. So after the 28th of Feb, the 50% off license fee for life will be finished and definitely will not be offered again. We started this when we did version 1 and we were going to stop it, but we realized version 2 was coming. So as I say, some of the organizations which are coming back to us now, the likes of Premier Brands, the likes of Airbus, the likes of, we've got about 350 schools who are looking to come on. So we now, in terms of getting people in, we've got enough customers. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we're getting value for money off them. So this offer, if you put an inquiry in before the end of Feb, then we will warrant this for you. And hopefully that'll be fine. Now, Dawn Ann, if you could just send the link out for this for you. What I'd like, if possible, if you can just rate us on how good you think our product is from what you've seen. That would be much, much, much appreciated. And hopefully we can do that. And then, as I say, if anyone needs any more information, by all means, please simply just give us a call, give us a, book in the meeting, and we can get you all ready and get you all up and running. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. In terms of our star rating, let's see how you found us. Okay, we averaged 4. Excellent. Okay, so some nice little 5-star reviews there, etc. That's really, really good. Well happy with that. I'll take 80% on a first demo. Obviously, there's a lot more functionality built in there. You can see this is a whistle-stop view, but thank you so much for your time. Really, really much appreciated. And like I say, any questions, 5 minutes after this, you'll get after this call, you'll have the email. But we're here to speak and answer any questions that you've got. Thanks very much for your time, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye now.